All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm getting a little better, I think that time, right? Not super late. Only I told myself 5 minutes is kind of the vibe. So started at 10:30, get schmoovin' by 10:35. I think that's a job well done. I think so. Uh just kind of cruising through art station right now. I've got 4 pieces. Just wanted to have 5 today. So looking through to find one more possibly. But as I do that, I should probably swap over camera so you can see my lovely, lovely morning face. Hey, so I am also in the process of possibly getting another camera. Ah, it's such a beautiful face, I know. Um, just because I feel like I never look up, and I realize I never do, but I like having a camera there. Um, but I found someone online who I might trade random stuff for that I've got. And then I can maybe have 2 cameras set up. So like, especially when I'm drawing, I feel like I've realized I look like I'm not even like anywhere near looking up here. But that's okay. But of course, then that individual ghosted me, I thought, for a couple days. And by a couple days, I mean like a week. And I messaged them back and they're like, oh, yeah, I got COVID and the flu and I'm in the hospital. I was like, oh, Jesus. Well, don't die and get back to me when you can. So that's fun. That's always a fun time. COVID and the flu at the same time. Yikes. So I think I've got a couple good ones ish. I don't know. I didn't really look through them. I just click away, as you know. So let's see what we got today. As always, the step one is learning to read the names. Uh, Sitmar or Sittimer Lu, right? Sounds good. I believe it. Very pretty. This feels very like I made this as a wallpaper energy, doesn't it? Like the specific negative space down here and stuff. Not a huge anime big booby girl fan, but I was attracted because the colors. I love the teals and the pinks. Can't go wrong. And definitely creatures like a big old snake. Though I'm confused by what part is underwater. Oh, so the whole okay, I didn't realize that. Like it goes underwater here, and this is barely underwater, but she's like sitting on him as like a. I don't know why the perspective messed with me because the way her hair was, and then it flattened into water. Neat. Oh, talk about big booby anime girls. Anyway, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. All super clean as hell though. Can't can't go wrong. Eh, okay. Big boobies, you know what I mean. I try and mix it up. I try and look for something in each kind of medium in a way, or each kind of vibe. So this looks almost photo bashed. Or like maybe 3D, like some base 3D stuff. It's always hard when I don't know the language, so I don't even, is there a translate? See you next year. I don't know if that's what it really said. This gives me like the Jaeger. Yes, I know that. I could read that name. Thank you. I did get that one. I meant the Chinese characters down here that I can't read. Um, this one gives me like the very strong emphasis on the location and everything feels like slow, like everyone's movement. Oh, that's funny, right? Because my cam. So like, oop, which one would it be? It would be this one. I don't want to put my head here though, because then it's like blocking, the actual pictures. But yeah, it was just this stuff here. That's funny. I didn't realize that was covered the actual flavor text. Um, but no, it gives me like almost Red Dead Redemption energy, where it's like you are experiencing all of these different locales. You feel very like slow and steady in a way, right? And I feel like that's kind of how Red Dead always felt, was slow and steady, and then moments of crazy action, but then just just cruising through the Wild West. Yeah, very film-esque for sure. Makes me want to play. I haven't played. Normally I always have like a third-person action adventure game that I'm like deep in, but now that I just play up here, basically, I keep wanting to play the Elden Ring DLC, but I never do. Now I'm like, well, now I'll just wait to maybe get it on the PC, but then that means I need to get the get the game on the PC, and then I'd want to replay it again, and that's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous game, quite literally. I was thinking of replaying Neo and finally beating Neo 2 then from scratch here on PC at some point, but I barely make time as is. And then now we've got Orcs Must Die coming out. Nobody got time for that. This is really cool. Terra Classic. I never played that game. But as would expect with this person, it's just really pretty big, notable biomes. Each one has such a distinct feel. And its own distinct color palette, too. This one gets me, though. I'm always a sucker for, like, in my brain, I always look at these as, like, the Gungan aesthetics, is my brain. These are the Gungan aesthetics. They're round. They feel like they could be underwater, above water. They've got like energy effects. It's more creature looking. They're Gungans. It went Avatar a little bit because of these guys, but for some reason the portals for me in the round shapes like this, that just always and forever Gungan in my mind. Avatar, Gungans did it first, all right? The Na'vi are just posers. They wish Misa thinks they oppose us. Very cool. I like it. I like it. I like seeing these environment pieces. I'll give this guy a follow. This one was just different. It was just a leg and feet thingy. Um, it's Nikolai Nadanov. I don't actually remember how to say his name exactly, but I've seen if anybody does sculpting stuff online, he is like the one of the quickest people I've ever seen. Like he is an exceptional 3D artist, and he's so quick. Like he'll call them like speed sculpts on YouTube, and he's been doing those for so long. And what he'll do in like an hour is like what most people would do in like 2 weeks. And you're just like, what did you, how? It's pretty impressive. So it makes sense that he has a really good grasp on a lot of this stuff. I'd be curious. I love when I see 3D artists do like sketches, because then it makes me wonder, like, I want to see what you do in 2D then. Like, if you are like this good at 3D, it either some people are like, I don't even know how to touch 3D then. 2D, because I've had a couple of people I've known at my last job who did 3D great, but then when I asked them to draw something, I was like, the hell was that? But like, oh, I remember this character. I drew this character a billion years ago. Um, I drew, it was a draw this in your style. I drew this person's art. I didn't make that piece. Um, but then sometimes the 3D artists are like, when you see them do 2D stuff, then too, you're like, you just can do everything, right? Like you are just a master of all crafts. Yeah, I was hoping to find his YouTube real quick. I guess I can just quickly check this. to pull up just to show off if he's got some cool stuff right now. Speed care car char. This is the one. Am I like missing what he? Maybe he has a different account because he used to do like. Maybe it's because he does live stuff. I don't know. I can't find. I remember watching quite a few things. Either way, you get the vibe that he's pretty solid, but he's quick as hell. So I don't have anything to showcase his speediness. But trust me. Okay, this one looks like we talked about. This is my favorite. Absolutely my favorite. You give me a little gif of how it gets to where it is now. Love it. I could get lost. Like someone could give me a page of like 100 of these, and I'd be like, I'm just lost for the rest of the day. Like my brain just loves watching this. I've got my joy mug today. It's a great day. It's an interesting because if you look at the biggest shift is their decision to make it pretty much all indoors, right? And so you get way different lighting immediately halfway through. So the lighting at first, nice. I picture a Darth Maul mug though, and like you know how they make mugs where they've got it looks more like the thing where the character is supposed to be. So I picture like a Darth Maul mug, but all of his little horns are just in a circle around, so when you drink it, it just keeps like stabbing you in the cheeks and the eye. It'd be great. It's a great mug. Super efficient. But no, it's interesting this one because we can see they originally had this window open, and so the lighting was completely backlit like that. And then that shift halfway through to really just put the focus on, because right here that's soft. I wish you could like pause these, that would be cool. But like in the spot where there's a building here, I feel like the focus is more easily lost. Whereas shifting the light to here, this interaction between the character and the monkey in particular quite literally shines, right? Like that draws our focus more because that's right where the light is hitting. It's got this beautiful, beautiful soft glow. Everything else kind of recedes back, and even the way the lighting is, the shadows are pointing up to this character, whereas the backlit would have looked cool, but I feel like the moment of the character would have been lost a little bit. So again, as always, cool to see. Like, yeah, like the arm changes or little nods, but like when you see big shifts like that, it's cool to see. And I like to like try and reverse engineer and think of like, oh, I wonder why they did that. And I think that really helps too. Like when you can see someone else's thought process, who's better than you, right? These people like this for illustration, like I don't do illustrations. I just like to draw. And so like people who do this professionally at like such a high level, if you can look at their process and learn to break it down yourself and try and think what they were thinking, that helps you grow because you're basically going through their own process, but you're doing the extra step of having to think it through double in a way. I don't know. These are cool though. I really love all these illustrations. I feel like like half the time we find, I click on somebody for ArtStation and it's basically like they do some sort of Runeterra, they do Magic the Gathering, they do Arcane, or not Arcane, League of Legends, and like you know what I mean. Like it's pretty Wayfinder. We've seen a bunch of. I'm not complaining. It's just cool. I don't see. Speaking of, I don't see a lot of Lorcana ever really pop up here on ArtStation, and I wonder if there's a reason for that, or I just okay. So the people that do it, I just don't follow their accounts. I need to pull some of these up and follow these bad boys because I tried to play the game. My sister and I played it quite a bit. I played with my girlfriend. I played once or twice with some nerds in Florida. But that was about it. it gets expensive. Like card games are pricey. And so it's hard to wanna keep buying more. Um I like how like I type Lorcana and then you get like a Siri looking cosplay. Um but that doesn't stop me from following the subreddit. Um and like the Lorcana, I already follow this person anyway. Following the subreddit and constantly keeping up to date with the cards themselves because I like Disney is some of my favorite things. And the idea of these Disney characters reimagined in such fun ways, like this, when this card came out, the Stout Hearted, I lost my stuff. And then I think there's a, ooh, so sorry, I keep finding more. Ooh, this is a good artist to follow. Look at them. They got some cute Pokemon stuff. They've got, oh, this is some good stuff. No, the, was it Anna? Lorcana Anna Knight. I can't remember the name of that card right now. This one. Like, the true hearted. One is the stout hearted, the other is the true hearted. Like seeing something about seeing like Disney princesses in like awesome knight armor and making them feel like really powerful and not like what's cool about Disney is yes, they've got like a little bit here and there, but like they're females now. They've leaned into being just like strong as hell, right? Like there's no sexualization to these characters. They can be pretty and sexy, if you will, but they always are shown as 9 times out of 10 strong, right? They are powerful characters. And then seeing them in iterations where they're like legit physically powerful then and cool like that with the armor, cannot get enough. But yeah, there's so much here. But anyway, I don't want to, I could get down the biggest rabbit hole ever if I just look up Lorcana artists, but I think that's something I should do almost daily at this point because I'll find hopefully different ones that I wasn't following previously. That'd be cool if you could search. That would be cool if I could search and sort by not following, right? Like if any of the search results could come up and it's people I don't follow, so I can find more, right? If I already follow them, I don't like, yes, I've already liked this. Like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these things I probably already liked. But like a lot of these things too. Oh, a lot of Marvel Snap stuff too. A lot of these I don't, right? That would be super helpful because like there's so many times where it's like I can't, there are so many amazing artists, and especially as we've seen that I can't even pronounce half of them, to be quite honest. And so like I can't remember who I follow, who I don't when it comes to stuff like this. So even seeing the name, I don't know until I see the little following or not following. But okay, stepping aside from Lorcana because it's I'm trying to keep to my schedule of at 11. I'm done. I'm done looking at stuff. So Magneto's a whole other story for today. So this one just looked cool. Very Cthulhu-y. Has a nice stylized, chunky, very Darksiders energy. Very impractical with these weird things. You can't put it. How's it sitting? But no, I always like this style is always fun. It totally, yeah. Come on, anybody with eyes would have known that's Darksiders. That's energy. That's that energy. According to Stream Chat, I said it first though, so like you're basically like the Navi. You're just copying. You're just copying me and the Gungans. Okay, this person does like a lot of prop stuff like that. They definitely, it's always cool too when you see stuff like this. So like this was 3 months ago. And this is now. And like, yeah, 3 months isn't super long. But it's long enough to learn a lot, you know? Especially if you're kicking it and going at it a lot. So it is neat because like from here, I look like I could scroll. Like even like the way this wood is done, the rope is done, it feels more like, it feels less unique, if you will. Whereas this, it looks like they've, you know, learned quite a bit even now of just kind of giving that extra touch. Good job. Oh gosh. Polina Churginstova. That was close enough. I'm gonna say that was actually spot on. Polina. One day you'll hear this and be like, wow, he gets me. He knows my last name. As a human with a nigh unpronounceable last name to the average human who looks at it, I feel that. I feel it. Thanks, grandma and grandpa, and great grandma and grandpa, you crazy Italians. And then I wanted one, I saw this one, it looked very, very simple. So lately I've been having like a crisis, basically, um, of how to color things. Because I've had this discussion countless times that I'm too organized with certain things. Like I'm very anal, like unbelievably anal. Like if you were to see the house, it's like clean. Even like yeah, there it's like messy gallery walls and statues and everything, but everything is like to a T. I dust all the time. Everything is organized. Yeah, we looked at another one the other day that had the Magnolia vibe, and it was this very strong shadow. I feel like it is. It's whenever we see like like thick inks like that, my brain always thinks of Magnolia. Um, but so when I'm painting now, that kind of follows suit that I get too organized. Like I get too like I'm like, no, everything needs a layer. You need the clipping mask, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, and while that's helpful, it also then like excuse me, it stops from being like organic feeling. And then it feels very like rigid. And I'll show in a sec exactly what I mean. But like, so when I'm seeing stuff like this, it makes me want to click on it more because I've been trying to look at like so many different ways that I want to color things and get better at. I need to just do more like direct studies of stuff. But so seeing this unbelievably simple line work, right? There's very little line width to this. It's pretty much the equivalent of like if you just have like a straight up pen, you know, a fountain pen going through and keeping it clean the whole time. And then obviously, you know, heavy darks, but there's almost no line width, which is I appreciate the look, but again, it's one of those things where like my brain's like, I can't do that. I think it's because I usually add too much detail. And so like too much detail, like little bit of lines work when you're able to keep things simple. But if you start adding more detail, like this is like max detail possible. Like if imagine there was this, and then there was also more detail here on the clothing, right? If there's more detail here on the clothing, and it'll contrast with this, the chain, the book, all of a sudden it gets really muddied when you're keeping all like super samey line width. At least for me. And that's where I always struggle. So this person I'm sure has a bunch of cool stuff like this very simplified line work. So let's take a peep. This feels the watercolor feel of the armor is I'm blanking on the early Final Fantasy concept artist. Um Yoshitaka Amano, that's the one. Has a lot of that vibe. That's kind of where my brain goes when I see. I could see that being like a Ghibli sketch too, for sure. Let's see Final Fantasy though. Like they have this energy, which is obviously not exactly the same, but I don't know why my brain just like those they have the similar thing of their lines are pretty yes, they're much sketchier, but they also don't really vary in their line width too much, right? It is pretty much it is what it is kind of thing. And so I think that's where the uniform line width and the watercolors is where my brain goes for this kind of stuff. Yeah, old Final Fantasy stuff was cool. I have can't remember what the book is called, but it's It's a giant art book, like giant art book. Yeah, it's this one. Or this one right here, The Sky. Holy fudge. Okay, I was like, wait, it's like 200 and some. Art books go for crazy amounts now. Like, I feel like old art books. I've got an old God of War collector's edition art book that sells for $400. Or my Metal Gear Solid anthology collection of art books is like 350. I'm like, holy cow. I might need to start selling some of these books, you know what I mean? Get a cool grand just from selling a few books that, you know, I may love them, but like the God of War, I have the normal one. That was the collector's edition. Like, and stuff like that. And this book that I have here, this surprisingly, The Sky, The Art of Final Fantasy, Amano's work here goes for, you know, anywhere from like $100 to $200 now. It's a big book. You open it up, it's like that big giant box, and has multiple books within it. You can't fit it on a shelf, let me tell you. I actually got that at Walmart. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Like, this is the simplified, and then they're like, hey, give it some rim lighting and some actual shadows and highlight. I like that. I like seeing that. But no, the Walmart thing was a glitch in their system. Like many years ago, I was working in the city at the time, and I was so upset that I was at work because it was a glitch in Walmart's system that normally I keep my nose to the grindstone when it comes to that kind of stuff with deals and little hiccups and glitches and the sort. And I can't remember the specifics because this was almost 10 years ago now. But it was basically something along the lines of everything came up online. So you could order it online and get it for pickup or delivery. Delivery, anybody who knows, has a very high likelihood of getting canceled then if it's like a pricing error or glitch or something like that. But for in-store pickup, you could get it for whatever, and usually the person doing the in-store pickup, because keep in mind, this was a long time ago. In-store pickup is now really different since COVID at most stores, but like their system's been overhauled, whereas like Walmart 12 years ago, in-store pickup was just like somebody at customer service being like, hey, this is what you had. Like it was not very intense. But anyway, so basically you could get, people were getting entire like $2,000 televisions for $50. Everything for some, it was like something messed up in their internal system online that anything, like it was like items that were marked like between this and ended in this penny amount were all just screwed up in the system and marked to a flat value of like, I want to say it was like 48 actually. But the same thing happened with other things slightly lower in value, and it was marked to like $14 for some reason. Everything was it was like these weird number amounts that like the website just got borked. And I had people, I don't even want to say it was 50, I want to say it was like 20 something. Because I remember in my different groups, way back when, I still use it occasionally. It's called Cheap Ass Gamer. It's been around. I've had that account since I was like 13. That they had people with pictures posting where they had their entire trunks, or people rented trucks, and they had like 7 or 8 $1,500 televisions just loaded up into their car, and they spent like $100. Like, it was absolutely insane. And then it was pretty quickly, Walmart put the kibosh on it, and they like sent like a mass memo to everybody, and it closed out the like no in-store pickups could happen for the next day or two at all. And all the online orders were getting kind of, obviously anything that was ordered online was easily caught because they had a system that could catch it. But man, I remember sitting there, I just got off the train pretty much and into the office. I was commuting into the city at the time. And I'm sitting there in the office being like, I'm about to take the day off. Like, I almost wanted to just be like, I'm calling in sick. I've got a cough. I need to leave. I didn't, especially because I was in the city, and then getting on the train and going back and then getting in the car to go to Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, I know that song and dance. I wasn't going to make it. And I didn't. However, all of this falls back to, I did try my luck and at least order. I was like, well, they'll catch a TV, they'll catch a, a loss of a poop ton. But will they catch an art book? Like nobody really buys art books, I feel like. I feel like I'm one of the few people in this world who like, and I've bled it into my friends and stuff now that we all do, but like not a lot of people I feel like buy art books. And so surely that'll go through the cracks, right? Especially 12-ish years ago. And sure enough, it did. I got that book. That was the book, Sky, the Final Fantasy art book. That one was one of the few things I made like a few separate orders to see if stuff would go through. And that was one. So that was pretty cool. I got it for, I want to say it was like $13 or $14, and it was at the time 169. I think it was like 170 was like actual retail price. Deals, am I right? Anyway, besides all the deals, let's look at some Marvel Rivals stuff. Holy cow. I looked away though. Sorry. Phone's got a lot of notifications. Normally I don't look at it. But um got a couple things going on again that I had with the family stuff before that's still kind of happening today. So I want to kind of have a small peep to keep an eye on it. But anyway, so I know I complained earlier, didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm in like a style crisis of things. Hasn't changed at all. So here I am. Last night I sat on the recliner downstairs in the living room. Keep in mind it is like ice cold still here, right? Ice cold, been snowing 2 days in a row now on top of it. So it finally stopped being sub-zero temps and said, how about there's snow though at functionally sub-zero temperatures. It's been like 8 and then 0. So, okay, it's like I'm not touching you kind of energy, but like also 0 is basically sub-zero. Come on. And I sat on the recliner, very comfortable recliner. It's one of those old ones, you know, those old recliners that like have gone through a family that they're not the prettiest, but something about them when you sit in them then at that point, because it's like it's had the wear and tear of years. How many people have sat on this thing, but like in a comfortable way, not like going through like buying a Craigslist one and be like, I wonder how many people sat on this. No, I don't want to think of that. It's different when it's a family piece, right? And that's what this recliner is. It's one from my girlfriend's family, and it is comfortable. It's been sat on quite a bit. Anyway, moral of this story is I could not figure out how I wanted to draw Magneto at all. Like color him and work with that. And so what I did was I sat there, I popped on the TV just to have some noise on. I didn't want anything I would pay attention to. So I put on Superstore, one of my many like back burner shows to just kind of throw on. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't plug in the iPad. That would help. I'm all set up and I didn't even plug it in. But so I sat down, recliner, popped in my butt, you know, put on some Superstore and tried to start adding some color. Well, you know, the heat is blasting because it's disgustingly cold outside and all these things. I didn't even I like, you know, that time when you fall asleep, that weird nappiness where like you didn't actually nap, but you woke up and you're like, what just happened? And your head is killing you and you're just like out of it. That's what I did. And so I'm opening up my iPad now, and this is kind of like my first peep at like, what did I do when I weird headache fell asleep? Apparently this. Looking at it, I don't like it, to be quite honest. I'm not a huge fan of this. My thing that I get torn with is when I get too clean with stuff. So if we look at like, let's look at some other things that I've messed with. So like, I love my Zangief, right? This Zangief turned out great, but it was me being super anal about line width and how clean it could look. And did this turn out cool? Yeah, I like how this turned out. I'm not saying I don't. Or my Marisa, I like how these turned out. They're colorful, they're playful. They do fit a vibe. But I'm also really, I don't know, I like sketchiness. I like being a little etchy. I like having more life to the pieces. And so I don't know how to marry the two, right? Because then even like this Akuma, I cleaned him up and he's got these very clean edges again. Which again, nothing's wrong with it. I think it looks good. But then when I go through and I've got like, my colors are so anal about like, I have to have the skin a separate layer. I have to have this, I have to have that. It just ends up feeling so inorganic. Whereas like, this was sketchier and it feels more organic despite being a guy made of metal and stuff like that. But then we look at like Malice, that's like unbelievably clean to an extent. Obviously the skin's a little, but like it feels like almost like paper cut out. So I don't know. I'm just trying everything under the sun. And then I did, you know, like my little Jeff, I did playful little like very inked lines with just like light watercolor. I am just bouncing between every rendering way under the sun for me. Everything but photorealistic, because why would you have a photorealistic any of these characters? Like that's not how that works. And then we're getting into the weeds when we go. Yeah, there's not too many like fully rendered pieces down here. This was one from a long time ago when the Loki TV show came out. I liked how this was like this sketch came out. It was the Glorious Purpose, if anybody recalls that that scene from the old school Loki. But this was one where I was like trying to figure out like different ways to maybe like, this is cool line work, but what if I do it where I just do like pure, you know, no line work, and then what if I add like super basic just overlay colors and play from that? Like, I don't know. I've been bouncing through a lot, man. I've been bouncing through a lot, and I don't know what to settle on. I don't know. Yeah, now I'm just going way back. Like, these are many, many years ago, looking at other things I've done. I feel like that's not a great gauge because this was too long ago. None of these are good. I totally forgot about this. I don't know what I was doing here. That was something. Or when I was playing Dragon's Dogma, I was going to draw a big Dragon's Dogma piece, like an epic battle. Look how far that got. So, I guess that's why I'm streaming now, so I at least have ways to finish and reasons. Except here's case in point, one of the first ones I did, and he's still just sitting here as a sketch. So, I guess that's not too true. But yeah, so if we're looking at Magneto, then let's pull him back. Let me move around a couple things here real quick. So I keep going back and forth with using this little guy on the Apple Pencil. Some days I feel like I don't want it. Some days I do. When I have it, I actually don't like, so it's got a hard edge, hard to see, but you can see the hard shadows and light, right? And then it's got a soft edge. I feel like you're supposed to use the hard edge, most likely, because that's kind of like what lines up. But I end up wanting to flip it upside down and use the soft edge more. And then I hate it. Like 5 minutes in, I'm like, this is stupid. And then I forget it's there. But then you can't do the double tap for erase. So you'll see me probably fumble even more than I normally do because I'm trying to erase. And normally my iPad messes up and it doesn't erase properly. But even more so when apparently I have something physically blocking it. But okay. So we are here with Magneto, and we can kind of see where I was going with it, especially since the past couple days I've talked about, surprisingly enough, as Lopology brought up the Mike Mignola, very heavy ink, like very, very like black, right? Very hard blacks put into the shadows, right? I'm not doing Marvel Rival style here with like the gouache painting and more of that stuff, but I wanted to just, I wasn't in the mood, so I just really wanted to do like straight up scratchiness, right? I wasn't in the mood to do anything more than that, so I wanted to keep it really scratchy, really like light. Light is in like, not like tight lines. But so in doing that, like I hate that, like looking now, so Sleepy Britton as he zonked out on the couch, did some stuff that I don't approve of. Namely in the face. I feel like the face lost a lot of what made it feel like Magneto, and he looks kind of ugly. I think it's too dark right now. I guess it'll help maybe to look right now without any color on it. I was blopping color in just to kind of get a vibe. But yeah, I'm trying to be. This is my attempt, excuse me, at normally I do things too clean. So if you look, this is one layer of color. That's it. One layer. One single layer of color. And then an unbelievably sketchy line work layer. Not all that much different from my actual sketch, to be quite honest, then. I'm trying my best to, you know, break my own mental hurdles. I feel like everybody has them. We all have these mental hurdles, whether it's in art or life or just anything we do. I feel like too many times we get stuck in our, like, the rhythm, right? The rhythm of our lives, the rhythm of everything. I'm just going to erase this because I think it's too weird. And so it's not easy to break that a lot of times, but it's definitely a good exercise to try to kind of branch out. And I think it's one of those things where it's okay to feel uncomfortable. And I think that's something that we all struggle with, that like we want to just feel comfortable in what we're doing, right? No, this is what works. This is what's good. This is what's comfortable. But we've got to remind ourselves that like you don't grow. Usually you don't grow when you're comfortable, right? I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to make better art if I just do what I'm comfortable with. And so I need to keep reminding myself that like, no, it's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable because that's when growth happens. And that, again, like I said, is not just an art thing. That's just a life thing that we all need to get used to. Holy crap. Speaking of being uncomfortable, though, this arm, still haven't found my comfortable sweet spot. Not quite the same type of comfort, but definitely an issue nonetheless. That it keeps, I don't know, man. One day I'll be like, man, this is the perfect angle. I've found it. But the problem with that is it moves. So like even if I find the perfect angle, it'll be gone the next day or the next time I move even here at the desk. But anyway, so weird philosophical meta approach of thinking of things, how I'm trying to get into it, but the idea is the same, that like it's okay to be uncomfortable. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is I'm very uncomfortable doing this kind of line work and overall energy of the piece. I don't know what I'm doing, and it makes me uncomfortable. And I figured it would be best to start it off stream, just because I know it's hard to do that kind of stuff. But I figured, you know what, start it off stream, and then stream being uncomfortable, because it'll force me to kind of push through it. Whereas on the couch, apparently, I was too comfortable, and my knee-jerk reaction was, F it, we sleep. But if I'm here, I guess I could sleep. That would be that would be a pretty awkward stream and not quite the energy I'm going for the page. But figured give myself like a head start, and then I can go from there and force myself to be uncomfortable here, and maybe find something that works. Moral of the story is okay to be uncomfortable. Which honestly, that's half of why I've been I mean, there's plenty of reasons why I've been streaming, but like part of it was to get out of a funk, to get out of my, you know, we get in our heads, we get in our own way of doing things so much, whether it's good or bad. And I really wanted something to break that. And I've actually found a lot of joy in doing this kind of stuff. So it's definitely taxing in a different way mentally and physically on my broken shoulder and collarbone, but I like it. Though if we're talking about mentally taxing, nothing beats the other night with my friends playing games. You nerds are in here at all. That was a taxing night. Everything we did was just not vibing in terms of like actual efficiency of gameplay. We played Rivals and Fortnite. It was something. It was a night, I'll say that. But the beauty of playing with friends is even if it's just a weird night of nonsense, you're still with the people you love and care about. And it's just that in itself is the fun thing, right? It was absolutely wonderful indeed. Though not gonna lie, it does excite me then now because I'm like, okay, good. It's Thursday. That means I get to play Marvel Rivals ranked by myself later today and just do my thing. I can be my sweaty gameplay intense mode, and it's okay. I hide that when with friends, or I don't hide it. I try and hide it and be chill. Hey, I hide it pretty well. Okay. Yeah, Marvel Rivals is definitely one of those games where it's hard because it's weird because you're playing as these crazy superheroes just being some silly moments happen, but then also like it is still a hero shooter. And so like if you have people vastly not doing the role, it's like, oh man, the game is hard to function right now because things just aren't vibing. But that's the beauty of not having to play ranked. I should probably learn. I've been really enjoying something about playing as Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange basically his main gameplay loop is shoot, melee, explode. That's his loop. So you have a projectile and then you have a melee. And what you can do is you can animation cancel the projectile into the melee. And then as you do attacks, you build up dark energy. And when your dark energy gets high enough, you can literally expel it, and it's like an explosion around you. So the gameplay loop is like physically not that crazy, but it's hard because as a tank, then you're also throwing in shielding, you're also throwing in positioning all the time. So you're taking space for the team. Like that's the role of the tank, right? Is I'm taking space because I can. I'm the wall that can take space and be more of a presence than like some of the other squishier characters. But it's definitely an interesting playstyle, I guess. Um, but Strange, I vibe with, and I've gotten used to it. Whereas I actually have no idea how Magneto functions, so I should probably. He's one of the characters where I like to play as everybody to at least understand. Right? You need to know in any game that there, whether because I play a lot of fighting games, right? I don't need at a mid level, I don't need to know everybody, right? I don't need to know everybody. We should probably know the elevator pitch, right? What do they want to do and what do they want you not to do? And that's usually at least enough to get you going in most games, whether it's, you know, a hero shooter, a fighting game and stuff like that. Knowing at least the core game plan of what the character wants, because then you can either avoid or mess with. And so Magneto's one that I don't really like in my brain. I picture him as just like mutant Doctor Strange, essentially, in terms of gameplay. But that's because I haven't actually played with him. I'm sure functionally it's not the case, but that's where my brain goes. So I should definitely learn him, especially as I'm drawing this dope King Magnus outfit. And I've got to reread. I have House of M right behind me. Got to reread this. So this is kind of the stuff where it throws me off, like, because I want to like fully eliminate and put in shadow parts, right? But again, my brain doesn't have such a hard time talk about being uncomfortable that this is one where I get really uncomfortable. I'm like, no, these are the clean lines. You drew the clean lines. You let the line sit there. But nope. I said be sketchy, be loose, deal with it. But my brain is not happy with that. That's too damn bad. I feel like his nose just looks weird. Like in general. Like I keep messing with the face, but I think it's 'cause part of his nose is throwing me off. Eh, I don't know. Maybe we'll move on from the face for now and try and move onto this chest piece. So this chest piece, I never drew it in, but it's got these like radiating like god ray type things coming out within the pattern, right? So that's like part of the inner pattern of the thing. So I wonder, I don't even know if when I start messing this up, if it'll even be visible, these things, but just to throw them in for the moment. I feel like it helps sell the shape too. Whenever you've got like some sort of formed lines, it definitely helps. Oh, his big ol' M, I didn't, when I drew this is very not properly scaled. Do I change it? I don't think so. I don't think I care enough. I think it's fine. And I like the fact that I made it an M. Like I get it. Again, that's not the design, but I feel like it made me laugh that I made it his helmet end up looking like a big M when I did the line work here instead of the clearly supposed to be what's an homage to his helmet. I'm saying it's M for Magneto. Magneto. Like I said the other day, he's got that voice that just hits and my brain just says stuff in his way, just like Lucas Kyle that I said from Silo. Just I want a cool voice, you know? I want to be cool. Kind of like doing like crap like this, right? Where I'm trying to play with the sketchiness, and so I'm trying to play with these like loose exterior lines that don't make sense, but they're there just to exist as like a messy thing. And almost like allude to some movement in the draw. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to be uncomfortable and just slap crap on the board. Probably should use one of the actual cross-hatching brushes that I have so it would have been more uniform. But I think that's part of what I'm trying to do anyway, is break my, like, that's what I would want to do. If I'm cross-hatching, it's like, no, use the nice cross-hatching brush so everything's uniform. Nope. I'm going to make it messy and it's not even going to look great, and that's okay. When in doubt, if you're trying to sell it look like a gem, you just do that weird curved rectangle. Boom. It looks like a gem now, right? That's glow. That's like the shine on it. Easy. Kind of. So this weekend is here in Chicago, there is a fighting game tournament. We've got two big ones that occur here right outside the city, which is pretty cool that they're right here. Um, the Midwest, as cold and gross and how many problems I have with Chicago, it's got a lot of cool stuff. It's just a matter of going to them. Which, speaking of, I'm not going to this one. So Frosty Faustings is the name of the tournament. Big fighting game tournament here in the Midwest. One of the biggest, not one of the biggest, but Combo Breaker's bigger. Combo Breaker, though, is when I have my friend's wedding, and it is not here in Chicago. So I will not be attending Combo Breaker this year, but also I'm not attending Frosty Faustings either, kind of because I just don't want to go do anything. Um, like I said, I'm torn because the past few weekends, since Thanksgiving, basically, we have not had like much time to just not do stuff. And so it's been one of those things where I was like, oh, dope, Frosty Faustings. But do I feel like going to like a giant convention this weekend and watching fighting game stuff and doing all that? Like, yeah, is it dope to see Artist Alley and see, some big names in the community and stuff all there? And it is something cool when you go to an event that's in your home, right? Like when you travel somewhere, it feels neat. Like, oh, if I go to California and go to um something there, to go to Vegas and then go to Evo, right? But like the idea of like, oh no, this is like my backyard, right? There's a level of like pride that you have when you go to those kind of events because it feels like you have ownership over it in like the smallest of way, right? Like, oh, everyone else is coming here to me. But I don't know. It's obviously not cheap either going to conventions and any sort of thing like that. And so I was like, I want to be lazy and I don't feel like spending money. And then it's one of those things where if you didn't like any convention and of the sort, if you didn't get the tickets early anyway, then you just feel like an idiot because then you're like, well, now I'm paying more because I didn't get the early bird tickets and stuff like that. So then suddenly you're paying more for a thing that you didn't want to have to pay a lot for in the first place. And so it's like if you purposefully let yourself miss the early pricing, I feel like it becomes easier then because mentally, like I said, for my deals and stuff, I'm like, oh, well, I already missed the best value. Now, if I want to go, now I'm spending too much. That said, I do have a handful of buddies that are going this year, and they'll probably keep me in the loop of any cool things that they see and stuff like that. But yeah, so lazy bummy Britain wants to just stay home. Or at least not even stay home, but like it's just been so damn cold and I've been feeling just kinda off physically lately. And like I said, we've got a couple family things happening. I'm just like, ugh, too much. Sometimes life hits you. So again, I don't it's hard to talk about what I'm doing. Usually like when I'm designing the anatomy and working with that kind of stuff, I feel like I've got more to talk about. But right now, I have a harder time figuring out what to talk art wise, at least. I can talk for days about anything, but like art wise, it's harder to kind of communicate because if you notice when I'm going through, I'm just bouncing. Like I'll be in one spot and then I'll immediately just like zoom out and go somewhere else, right? So I'll sit here for a little bit and then I'll just zoom out and be like, okay, that's good enough. And then go somewhere else. Because I'm just, like I said, I'm trying my hardest to just be messy and be okay with the mess. And so what that means is jumping around, right? If I'm hopping around everywhere, I can't, like, it's like tricking your brain and to be like, don't focus on the parts that are stressing you out. The fact that this is messy and weird. It's okay. Just do you, boo, you know? And then jump to a new thing. And then jump to another new thing. And that's kind of my way of loosening my brain up. A little bit. Is it working? I don't know. I don't think so, actually. Am I uncomfortable, like I said? Yes. Do I not like the way it looks right now? Also, yes. But again, that's okay. That's a-okay. I did end up, you know, in my endless journey of always having to go for my walks and other things of the like, I went for a very chilly walk yesterday. And it's like, I don't know, the snow was so rough because for those that don't know snow or do, it's one of those things where if it snowed days prior, there's crap on the ground, right? It's cold, it'll freeze over. But like when you know there's ice on the ground, you know what you're looking at. And you know, like, oh, that's blatantly ice. I shall not step on it. I'm not an idiot. But the problem is when it snows a light snow a couple days after it already freezes over. Because what that means then is you can't tell what's what. And by that I mean you're going to fall on your butt probably a lot. And so on my walk the other day, it was like a baby deer learning to walk kind of thing, like fresh out the mama, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I'm fighting for my life over here on this ice. I didn't know it was ice. And that was pretty much my entire experience on my walk. But luckily, I didn't fall actually at all, though there was quite a few close calls. And close calls suck because then I feel like you pull your groin area because like you slide weird and then your legs get all jank and then you're like, well, now my groin feels weird because I just yoinked all the way through this friggin' snow. Though it is funny, like as someone who goes for walks even in negative 20-degree temperatures, you see the people outside who stick with going outside and then don't. So it's funny when I see people like the few people I do see outside going for walks on days like that. I'm like, hell yeah. And then it is nice though on the flip side when we've got really nice days. It does also just excite me to see so many more people outside though. Like it's like, okay, now it's time for everybody to enjoy the outdoors at least again. Because when it's cold, man. And I don't really blame people for not wanting to venture too far out then. I just go stir crazy if I don't. So this is something I did on the lower body that I need. Talk about stressing me out that like this is so loose and sketchy. Literally just drew like kind of as if I was like selecting it and doing a shadow, but then just scribbling in it. Literally just scribbling. It is weird. It's stressful. I don't like it, but I'm doing it. Do the same thing here then, right? Just make it See, but then I feel like I lose all of that detail I just drew. Ah, I'm stressing out. Okay, maybe not as hard then. What if we do contoured cross-hatching at least? Hmm. Oh, speaking of Marvel Rivals, then I think today is actually the day the event goes live. I think, right? It's like I think we watched it on stream, the Rocket League, but with who was it? Black Widow, Iron Fist, and the other one. Oh my gosh, Star-Lord. Black Widow, Iron Fist, and Star-Lord. Um, Curious to see what that even feels like. Seems kind of silly, but if there's a free Star-Lord skin attached to it that looks awesome, kind of hard to say no. And I just appreciate the idea of a company being able to do so many weird things. And even if it's not super successful and it's like, wow, this is the most fun mode ever, it doesn't have to be. They're going out and doing it. Like that in its own right is impressive and to me warrants praise. Yeah, definitely on stream. I'll try it later because it's already, what do I think 3 o'clock. You couldn't remember the Star Lord either. Yeah, I don't know why. Because for everybody else, like I don't know. When I think of Iron Fist and Black Widow, even though Black Widow has her sniper rifle, she still has her like little tonfa thingies and sticks or whatever, billy clubs, whatever you want to call them. And Star Lord just feels like not in that same realm as those two, but it makes sense. They're all just like mobile ish. But yeah, I'll probably play a round of it just to try it. What's cool is the way that they've set up their event structure, which again I commend. You don't necessarily have to play the event. So most games, like to get the thing, you have to play the thing. But they also introduced like that same currency that you'd get in the normal challenges. So like you can still get a lot of it by just playing the game as you would anyway, which usually games don't have. I feel like it's a confidence thing where it's like, oh no, you'll get it however you want. We don't need to force you to do the thing. Just play the game. We just want you to play. And that makes me, again, the decisions they've made for free to play and all of those things makes me want to support it more, you know? Like if a company's doing cool stuff and fairly, nowadays fair is hard to come by. This is looking so messy. I'm in disbelief that this is like, I really like the detail and how much, stuff I got on this Magneto sketch. And then I'm like, haha, let loose, Britton, and just be messy now. Oh my gosh. I regret this decision. It is almost Friday, so it's weird because now that I've been doing the streaming and doing this stuff, like relaxing is nice, obviously, right? And I'm not saying like this isn't to an extent relaxing. It's different though, right? Um, like there's a lot of stuff I want to get done. And so as much as I like now weekends being like, yay, chill. I'm like, yeah, but I kind of want to work on some video editing things that I wanted to learn and get better at. Or I really should work more on Magneto and finish the sketch. Or do you know what I mean? Like it's hard because this excites me though, right? All of this stuff excites me. So it's not like I need to do it. I mean, I need to because I want to grow and get better at all of this. But then part of it's like yeah, but I wanna make it good, right? I want to put the effort in. So then it's not like a 9 to 5 where it's like, oh no, I clocked out, I'm done. They paid me. Like this is like, no, I kind of want to build something cool. And that takes more time and effort. It's not just that. And my hardest part that I'm struggling with is social media. I am not a social media person. I don't use it really much. Like I just don't. I've never really been. And like so I always struggled when I used Instagram and different things like that. I never really used Facebook, you know. Back in the day I did a little as a younger kid, but like I never really, as an adult continued to use it other than for Messenger. And so it's like trying now to get better at like posting when I'm going live, which case in point, I forgot to do that today. I've been trying to keep with my blue sky and post like, hey, I'm going live. Come draw with me or whatever. Totally forgot to do that today because that's something it's not ingrained in my head. I don't like social media. I never really liked using Twitter. I had it because there's a lot of things attached to Twitter. But now I've been trying to use blue sky and stuff like that. And it's weird. Like I like making art and I like editing and I like researching videos and stuff like that. Like all that's cool beans for me. But the social aspect of trying to like build a community and talk to people and get people interested in what I'm doing, I don't know. That's where I flounder. And so I've been trying to get better at it. And I feel like almost that is almost more draining for me because I don't like I know art. I know what I'm doing enough. Even when I don't know what I'm doing, like I look at this and what I'm drawing. I'm not like floundering to that extent. I mean, I like this right now. I think it looks like doo-doo, but it's doing it. Whereas when it comes to social media, I feel like an 85-year-old man where I'm like, who's a who's a repost? What's a this? Like I just don't know, man. I don't know. Too damn old. Hey, look, I'm being perfectly normal about making these messy lines and I'm not even questioning, right? Cool. Psych. I'm making me nervous. It makes me anxious. That looks weird. Talk about nervous. I don't know what to do with the arm here because there's so much little detail. I feel like the second I start like thickening crap up and making it more like heavy, we're going to lose a lot of the detail and that makes me nervous. But as with everything, it's about just being confident in the stroke and in your decision making. And you can't get confidence unless you break out of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable to gain the confidence. So that's not today, let me tell you. No confidence today, but eventually. And that's the goal. I'm not even saying that on stream. That's not even going on the VODs. No, it'll be lost to the ether lopology. No one will know. So yeah, I'm always talk about when I'm being anal and doing those kind of being more, intense with certain things. I'm always very particular about like all my cooking and my chicken and stuff like that. And since I've been trying to do more here and other things, household stuff has kind of not fallen to the wayside, but like I don't want to focus as much time on, right? And so one of those things is cooking. And so my girlfriend was like, why don't, when you're prepping stuff, why don't you just freeze it? So you've got it for the next, like we're not freezing it for like months, but like, oh, if we do multiple chicken things, why don't I just cut up all the chicken in one day? I'll season it, do whatever I want, and then throw the extra things in freezer bags. And then on Monday, I'll throw it in. I'll do this. On Thursday, I'll do this. And so I did that. And I realized last night, yesterday, I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna have to cook some more chicken tonight for dinners. Um, and so I went to go unthaw it, and I was like, oh, everything I glanced online was like, yeah, just like a day, right? Give it at least 24 hours. Wrong. It's not enough. Like I checked it this morning in the fridge because it said like, oh yeah, if it's frozen, the best way to do it, because I don't usually freeze stuff. I'm a person who likes to do it. Again, like I said, more anal. I want to get it done and do the thing. And so as someone who doesn't freeze things, I trusted the internet and it said a day. So I put it in the bottom shelf of the fridge yesterday, like late afternoon, early evening, because I'll be cooking the chicken tonight at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Well, I looked at it this morning and it is still like super frozen. Internet, you failed me. That's not going to be thawed out in 9 hours. Ain't no way. Ain't no way, no how. Last time I listened to the internet, it's like, but yeah. Again, trying to grow in every aspect, not just art, even my own stupid ways of cooking and stuff like that. Like, oh, it's okay. And that's a weird through line, I suppose, where like even in my life with cooking, it's okay to be messy in the sense of you don't need to have, yes, I know meal prepping and making all that sounds clean, but to me it's messy in the fact that like, well, I'm not doing it just that day and having it ready and cooking it right then. Like that is what's clean for me. And so really, really trying to test myself and little stupid things to just be better with not being so anal and clean. And talk about doing all of this right now. I have no clue how I'm gonna this messy ass sketchiness, what I'm gonna do for these outer rings then. No clue. Zero idea. Oops, that's negative space. This is weird because what I'm using, the brush, is just so like I've gone over brushes before, but basically like I try not to have like too many. I feel like you get lost in the weeds, right? You just need some basic things that work. So I have a sketching brush, which is loose, right? It's a very loose sketch. And if you look, the grain is kind of that of a pencil, right? But if you notice, I can do this and it gets very wiggly. But then I just have a sketch liner. Same brush, essentially. But if you notice, it's a solid thickness pretty much all the way. It can kind of get lighter, but the overall thickness is more consistent. They're not more consistent. It starts off more solid and dark, right? And it'll fade, but it's also has the steadiness a little bit to it. So if you notice how clean this looks compared with if I were to do that same shape with, like, as you can see, like the other way kind of auto corrects. But yeah, so I'm not really like, I'm literally just using what is essentially like a slightly, I don't know, would this be like a 4B pencil? Essentially like the thick, you know, like the way the stroke is made. This is probably like maybe a 6B even pencil with like a little bit of digital flair to kind of like straighten things a little bit for, you know, account for the jitter in the read of the stroke. But so it's really not much. Like I'm really trying to do as much as I can with little, right? And then even here, the paint that I've slapped on, this is just a generic like fill brush with a basic texture too. Like nothing to it. You can see it's just pretty boring. So trying to get a good amount with a little. Which, speaking of bouncing around and doing that kind of stuff, maybe I switch and do some color, just to block in color for now, to feel like I've got a little bit more in there. I did do my, you know, quick color block out the other day, so I do have at least a palette to work from, which makes it easier, which is nice. So I just have, it's just literally called this fill brush. So if we look, it's just a, is that even the brush? What the, why does that look weird? The fill brush didn't have opacity. Now I'm being thrown off. I just talked all about this, but like, fill brush shouldn't have opacity. Why is this looking weird? Because like, it's this brush. It's the same thing. I have this brush as a liner and a normal. So it's supposed to be the exact same as I'm talking about brushes. Yeah, what happened here? This is not what in the Sam Hill? Facing jitter. So this looks fine, right? As I go on my whole brush tangent, opacity, there's no pressure opacity. As there should. So there's nothing. There's no opacity variation. And yet I'm getting some really weird opacity. What the heck? Zero tip size opacity. Streamline is not. Oh, there's a little bit more streamline than I thought. Yeah, what happened? Oh, when I was falling asleep yesterday, apparently on the recliner, I bet what I did was I must have fallen and moved the opacity slider. I never move the opacity really unless like it's a conscious choice to have to. I literally didn't realize I just had the opacity like way low. And now look, whee, exactly the way I wanted it. Oh man. We didn't see that, right? Nothing recorded. I'm pretty sure the recording stopped and then it picked back up from right now, right? Oh, look, hey, look, here's my other brush I use, right? Cool. So we assigned this like more purple-ish red for the cape, right? So to get some easy fill, nobody saw it. The recording stopped. Don't ask apology. I'm just gonna be real lazy with this and just kind of do the super. But again, it's weird because normally I do this on like I'm anal and I've got like 5 different layers, right? For each color. Nope, this is all one layer. I'm going in, just doing it. Can't stop me. We toys. That is a weirdly fitting phrase to say we toys see everything because that's an excellent nod to toys. But also I do. Yeah, we've got toys everywhere in this house, so like it does weirdly fit that like my toys would be like, oh no, we all saw that, bud. We saw it. We saw you mess up and not know what opacity setting you had it to. Oddly enough, this room that's the camera's set up in right now has the least amount of toys, I think. Very least amount. No, again, that's my whole thing though. I'm trying to not work with layers and be overly, I'm trying to be loose. I'm really trying, man. I know I love layers. I love being clean and organized with it. But what if I'm not? And I just kind of let myself be more loose and okay with not having stuff, right? I'm trying. But yeah, no, this room, weirdly enough, there's like a billion toys in every room of this house, but this room doesn't have actually too many. There's just the oh, layers to your joke. That makes more sense. Yes, that joke is you weren't making fun of me, you were just tooting your own horn. I see, I see. Toot toot. But yeah, no, weird that this room, the one that there is a camera, has like the least amount of toys, but that's okay. One day maybe we'll set up in the office and we'll see way more toys. Great minds think alike. Toot toot indeed. But yeah, one of the things I know I talked about with my social media presence being lacking and stuff, I talked about with my girlfriend stuff that like with Blue Sky in particular, that's the hardest because like I didn't like using Twitter because in my brain, like again, my organized brain goes, "Hey, you post art for art page," like, and that's it. Like that's all you do. You don't do other things. Whereas like Twitter's the Wild West, man, or Blue Sky, whatever. You're just doing your thing. You're doing whatever the heck you want. You're posting anything and everything. And as someone who is very anal and has a hard time doing that, that's a weird concept to me. In my mind, I'm like, no, this is my art account. I post my art and that's it. Um, so I've been thinking of other ways to work with it then, and she brought up the idea of posting toys, right? Like I need to do like just do. I've got a lot of random crap, and I have a lot of hobbies and interests that like maybe I should just be more open to being like, oh yeah, yes, this is my BrittonDraws. This is just my overall presence where I can post kind of anything. So it's like, hey, these are some cool toys I bought. These are the cool shelves that I've got set up, or look at these new comics I got, or I don't know. I don't know if I'll post like bodybuilding stuff and weightlifting things, but you know what I mean? Like be more open to just kind of throwing the cool things out that I like and not just being shoehorned into being like, no, I post art because I do art. Like, again, trying to be messier with a lot of things in my life. And let things like bleed over into others. So his loafers look like the same color, but these look weird. Oh, it's because I colored the sole. Like, okay. So it's the same. It's that tealish color, right? It's this one. I think what I'll need to do is maybe drop this teal. It's too. I feel like it's a little too light, isn't it? Yeah, maybe we'll drop this. Something like this look better. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's do a hint more of blue. How does that look? Oh, now we're cooking. Okay, I like that color more. So we'll replace actually on my little palette here that I made. Let's get rid of that. We use this color now. Again, I'm just slapping it over. I'm not color picking it to change everything. I don't have a layer to just redo the color. I can't hue saturate just that layer. Oh. So I guess if someone new is watching, like a new artist, I feel like, I don't know, it's a weird one because don't know what's better, right? Like, would it be better to learn being more organized and then break? Or is it better to learn being a little messier, right? And then do it? Because I feel like there's a thing to be said about like digital becomes too clean and it's hard to break that. So like people who do oh, there's really no bit here. People who do, let's say, a lot of physical art, um, you know, like actual physical paintings and stuff like that, like, and then they move to digital, that transition's usually not too bad because they have a broader scope and understanding. And like, well, yes, I have a good understanding of drawing and 3D aspects and stuff like that. Like, I never really liked painting. I never got into it. I did a lot of charcoal work. I ended up, as I got older, I really enjoyed charcoal. Um, but that's like the extent, right? So I wonder if it's better for people to learn messier because that emulates more of how life works, right? If you're working for real, like on actual paper, on canvas, on whatever, you're not going to have layers. You're not going to have, you don't have these kind of things to keep it clean. And so sometimes I feel like I at least use them as a crutch because it's an extra way to, oh, well, if I organize it this way, it'll be this and this and this. But then the colors don't interact the same. You don't have that like natural feel. Obviously, when you mix colors, then if people are starting out too, knowing how to make colors and stuff like other than just picking a color wheel is very important because the idea of how colors exist is different than just being like, oh, I picked from a wheel. Like you need to understand the logic behind it. Like, is it because do you want to make it more saturated? Do you want to make it more, if I add more blue to this, what'll it look like in my head and stuff like that? So like there's still a lot of pieces that digital can, if you're learning strictly digital, it can hinder, I feel like, or at least like get you in a spot where you're not growing as much as you could. That said, I mean, there's plenty of like young kids on the internet that post like dope stuff that they clearly are just, they started digital and that's all they do and it looks amazing. So maybe I'm talking about my butt and I'm just an old boomer who doesn't understand, but me, for my money and my understanding, I think it's better to start from emulating at least messier real life to an extent. Because then otherwise you get stuck like me, who's been doing like overly clean digital for so many years. And then it's hard to break. Though it is something to be said about, I wonder too if it's something to do with being a 3D artist. Because as 3D artists, it is loose to an extent, but also it's like when you're working with your UVs, you're doing the low poly work, you're doing textures and stuff like that. It becomes, I don't want to say like overly technical, but that's something that you need to be clean with, especially because I feel like if you're not clean with your 3D stuff, that's just a recipe for a disaster. And so I think that probably bleeds over because I've been doing 3D now for gosh knows how long. And so now trying to focus back on just doing 2D stuff is a little harder. So are his gloves more of the bluish tint or are they still the gray? Okay, so his gloves are the grayish color still. The grayish color that I decided to make more of a green just to make it look different. And then the shadows maybe of this, like you can see, I'll make it darker, maybe even darker still, just so it still has the feel of like it's a it's a very dark color at least, if not quite black, but black, I don't know, black can get boring on colors like this. So giving it a little bit of pizzazz. So this is like this is not quite the blue and not quite the green. What if let's say we make it, so I'll color over everything with this then. So I'll just blop it in. Blop, blop. I hear people shoveling in my neighborhood right now, and I feel bad because since I get up after my girlfriend, she's the one to shovel. Did a great job. Looks nice. But I feel bad then because it's like, oh, well, I probably should have been the one to shovel before she goes to work, but I do not because I'm a bum. Sorry. I'll probably salt it later though, just to be sure because it's been, even when it snows, after it snows, then the snow is just drifting all over the place. So there's still plenty of drift all over the place. So just salting it helps from extra freezing. I actually haven't looked at the weather even for today. I didn't even think it was supposed to snow again. Hit plus. Gosh dang it. Oh man. We do have, weirdly enough, we did get a not a plow, but a snowblower. Her uncle was getting rid of his old snowblower. It wasn't working great. My girlfriend's dad is like one of those like ultimate handyman who can like, I'll fix anything. I got this. I'll do it. I'll make it better. Um, and for the most part, he can. Like is it like the cleanest way always? No, but does he know how to get the job done usually? Yeah, it's impressive. Um, so what he did was he like fixed up this snow blower for us. Now you got me saying plow. Um, snow blower for us, and I was all excited to use it then because I'm like, oh, dope. I don't have to deal with the snow. And then it like crapped out the first time I used it. I'm hoping it was like I just needed to like double fill it back up because I didn't put much of the fuel back in it. I'm hoping that's all it was, but it was also so cold that day that I was like, I don't even care. It worked for like a minute and kept crapping out. And also with my bad collarbone, it's a pull. And so as I was pulling, I was like, my collarbone is dying. So I just stuck to normal shoveling. So nobody got plowed is the moral of the story. A little apology. No plowing. Can't plow, won't plow. Okay. Yeah, just blocking in color at least. I don't hate this as much, but it still feels weird. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm so used to thinking like this is the I cranked it. I cranked it too much and then my collarbone hurt. You know, my brain always works in layers, so just now I went to I'm working on the hair. So my brain goes, "Oh, I'm on hair layer. Let me erase this gray. That must be overlapping the skin color. Nope. That is the skin. Like that there's nothing there. I need to paint over instead of erase." Weird. I wonder if I block in a little bit of some values on this face, if that'll help sell stuff too. That what she's got like the 5 o'clock shadow kind of energy. So I just kind of want to block in something like that. And then being messy, you know. What if we take like an overall shadow? Boop. And now I will mess with the opacity and just kind of go over that. Oh, still too dark. Still really dark. Wow. And then I can still go back and put in shadow. Ugh. I was supposed to make me like it more. I like it less. Oh well. It looks very dead. I feel like I need to add the... I always forget the name. Where it's the warm color between shadows on the skin. It has a name. I should really commit it to memory because I seem to reference it quite a bit. Because it's important. Like, the skin looks dead if you don't have some sort of transition from the highlight and shadow. Like, do you need it everywhere? No, but it definitely should exist. And again, does it look good the way I'm doing it now? I don't know. I've never done this before like this messy, weird way. Normally it's a softer transition and it feels more natural. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, man. Leave me alone. Leave me alone! The neck bangs are looking gray, and that's about it. That's the extent of my neck banging today, Thumpenstein. That's it. I've neglected the neck bangs. I don't even know if I've even touched them today. Yeah, earlier I was saying how I tried to do some design, like figuring out how I wanted to do the line work and the stuff, and I decided to let loose and be really messy. And in doing that, then I've not really touched the hair. I just blocked in some color for the hair yesterday, and that was like last night, and that was it. And then as I was telling everyone, I fell asleep on the recliner like an idiot. Ain't no bang like a neck bang. That's what the kids say, right? Boom, demonetized. Neck bang and foot loose. What? A bit of this red. Man, that's an intense red now. I wonder if I allude to eventually like some sort of the filigree in this space here. It looks kind of boring. I don't know. Don't know. I do know I should probably start getting all this gold though, just base gold on the metal rings in the back. Can I be super lazy with this though? Hold on. How do we do that again? Make this the reference layer, and then can I just... Nope. That does not work like that. I thought that's how that worked. If I made this reference and those are clean lines, I should be able to drop color in, right? I'm glad the neck bang crew is back. Oh, it's because I have the threshold way too high. There we go. Okay, so here we... Oh! Now I can be lazy. Blop the color in. Look at this. Efficiency. That's my name right now, apparently. Ooh. But these are really solid lines, so that doesn't work. Yeah. That's okay. You give me, God give me. You give me cookie, I give you cookie. Greatest line in New Girl. Yeah, I feel like there's always shows that like people watch, right? And people know a lot of references to. But I watch Superstore a lot, and like, yes, in our friend group, we all know Superstore well enough. But like, I feel like when I've ever referenced Superstore to like any other human being, they have no clue what I'm talking. Like zero negative clue, right? Like they just do not know what I'm referring to. And I'm like, all right, you need to watch the show. All right, just leave me alone. Watch Superstore. It's a good time. Like I always reference The Office. Most people get Office references. I mean, maybe not my deep cut ones always, but they get them enough. But yeah, definitely not Superstore. Which we've been watching. I forgot because they weren't like pumping out new episodes. It's St. Denis Medical. It's by something Spritzer or whatever, the person who created Superstore. And it's pretty good. It's definitely, first season sitcoms always kind of have some growing pains, right? Because they're kind of struggling to figure out what each character really is. You know what I mean? Like their energy, their vibe, and how it all interacts with each other. Um, it's pretty fun so far. It's definitely got like heartfelt moments because it is in a hospital. Like it's like almost like Superstore meets Scrubs kind of energy, if that makes sense. Or like The Office meets Superstore meets Scrubs or something like that. More, because it's got the film crew aspect. So it definitely is like The Office in that sense because they'll do, like the little interviews, they'll talk to the camera and stuff like that, the documentary style sitcom, which is always fun. I like that format. I think if done well, it can be cool. Like obviously when The Office came out, everyone kind of wanted to do that and it doesn't always work. But I feel like The Office has been so far removed from like the cultural zeitgeist now of like what we interact with on a daily basis that it's mainly like us old farts who make the references still anyway. That like it's okay to reintroduce that style of show again. It's been enough time. But yeah, it was like around the holiday, around like Thanksgiving, I feel like so many shows. It's weird because when you watch streaming, right, you get your content on a pretty regular basis, right? Like, oh, every Thursday, right? Okay, every Friday, new silo. Every Thursday, new whatever, like what skeleton crew. Like, there's always something, right? The cadence. But then there's shows like St. Denis Medical or Abbott Elementary that we like to watch too that don't have that because they're not streaming shows. Do they come up on streaming services? Absolutely. But they air on normal TV still. And I feel like I personally have been so disconnected from cable. Like I haven't had, oh gosh, I haven't really used cable since my undergraduate. And I graduated now in a long time ago, right? And so that's been many, many, many years that I've even used cable. And so my brain, when shows do their like, oh, it's a break, right? Like, so for St. Denis Medical and Abbott, like they just straight up stopped having shows. Like no new episodes were on Hulu or Peacock for St. Denis Medical, which is why we always forget because nobody goes to Peacock. That like they have breaks, right? They actually stop. They stop airing the television show. And your brain doesn't like associate that with TV anymore. My brain says, no, 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 no. TV is always like when I want it, I click on it. And when they have the release cadence of every week, I get to see it every week. And so when shows have like an actual break in them, like they used to, or they still do, obviously, on cable, when for the holidays and stuff, it always throws me off because it's not like one announced. It's just like, hey, there's a new episode now, finally, after a month or 3 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks. And it's just a weird thing where our brains have just super associated with streaming being normal. That being said, we didn't realize there was a new St. Denis Medical because we forgot. And it had been like a long time since like right before it was right after Thanksgiving, I think was the last one. And so we kind of just forgot about its existence. But it was pretty good. Long story short, it was pretty good. Pretty good. So right now, I'm not really doing much of anything. I know earlier I was doing more of like the, the line work, the sketchiness, kind of adding some fake inked shadows and the like. But right now I just kind of wanted to block in some color because I feel like that helps me visualize it better now at this stage. And again, I'm trying to be really messy, so I'm just blocking color in. I'm not being anything more than that. But so there's not much to talk about art-wise at the moment, but it does feel weird still doing it this way. And I didn't want to, earlier I did the fill, right? I just dragged the color in and I made the reference layer. So like for the rings. But the problem with that is like, yeah, for that it's fine. It gets the job done for like big, quick surfaces. But like when I'm trying to do this whole piece being messier, you kind of need to do it by hand then. That's the whole point. Because if we're working, if you notice like my brush strokes, if we zoom in real close, there's variability in the opacity, in the line mark. There's so much different crap to it that like if I were to just simply fill, like, let's see. Oh, well, it won't because there's an open space. But like if I were to fill it, it doesn't fill that negative space always, right? You can see like it doesn't feel like it's being filled in properly. And so hand putting in the paint still does work better for what I'm trying to accomplish with my quote unquote messy letting loose of making art. Like even here, like a lot of this line work isn't closed off. So like when you fill things, it'll fill in anything that has an opening. So not even ideal, even if I wanted it to be. Okay, as I'm just blopping in color, hopefully I'll zoom out in a minute and it'll look better. And I'll be less upset with this thing, this monstrosity that I'm making right now. Actually, I've not been keeping up with time or anything either, so it is already 12:30. Holy cow. Look at us go. We are cruising through the time. Where did the time go? Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I'm debating one of the things, like I like the idea of doing streaming every morning, right? It is nice. It's a very good like pattern, good routine. And I like the idea that like if I do grow and people do want to keep watching, it's super structured, right? We've talked about half the stream is how I'm anal and too organized and structured with things, right? I do like that, right? Monday through Friday, boom, in the morning, easy peasy, don't need to worry about it, right? But also it's a good amount of time, right? Like if I'm trying to get other stuff done too, with more structured YouTube content and other things of the like, this takes a lot of mental energy and time. So if I get up, make coffee, have breakfast, go to the bathroom, and then I generally have been just coming in here, setting up the lights, redoing, because you have to like adjust the camera for the however much light is coming in from the room at the time, and set up the multi-stream, do all these things, right? Set up all the text of it. And then by the time I'm done, it's like I keep going till 1:30 usually. Like I don't think there's been much of a single time in the past couple of weeks now that I've stopped at 12:30 like I have on the schedule. And so my my time then is like, okay, well it's 1:30, and then by 1:30 I'm going to go downstairs. I close everything out. I'll maybe post on Blue Sky or on Discord a couple things of what I did today. Like I said, trying to push more of my social media aspect and do that kind of stuff. And then I'll have my lunch. And then once all's said and done, it's like 2:30. And then by 2:30, I'm like, okay, well, now I want to get a little laundry started. I'll do some laundry. I'll do some dishes maybe. And then once the laundry's done, then maybe I'll go for my walk, or if I have to do anything else, you know. And suddenly it's like 4:30 or 5. It's like 5 o'clock. And it's like, well, holy crap, where did that day go? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden my time is gone and it's 5 something. And if it's on a Monday, that means I'm going to be cooking our lunches for the week on Monday, right? So then by that point I need to get ready to do that. And if it's, you know, Tuesday through Friday, then that's a little bit of time. But like realistically, if girlfriend gets home at 6:30 or whatever it might be, well, then we eat a little together, we hang out, we have our time, and then it's workout time. And then after workout time, it's getting ready, and then it's dinner. Like, you know, so it's just like one of those things where I don't know. I like the idea of streaming every day. I really do. But I have been debating maybe altering the schedule to just like commit to the days that I actually stream art and commit to the fact that it's like more than 2 hours, right? Instead of saying 10:30 to 12:30 Monday through Friday, maybe I do stick to 10:30 to 1:30 and I commit to the 3-hour timeline. Like, and that's actually the schedule. And I only do that maybe like 3 days a week or something like that. You know, I don't know exactly, but I'm definitely playing with the idea, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do just yet, but it is something I am mentally exploring to kind of figure out what might work better, because right now I'm having a lot of stuff done when streaming, but then beyond streaming, that's it. Like I have not been able to make time too much for the other parts of things. So I don't know. Again, like everything in life, it's all a learning process. This is only finishing up now the 3rd week of me being consistent and streaming and stuff. So we knew there would be some sort of, you know, push and pull, getting used to what's going to work, what's not going to work, seeing how things will pan out. So who knows? But I do, as I'm speaking it out loud, I do like the idea a little bit of, because then it's like, oh, then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I can still maybe stream games in the afternoon, but then my morning can be all content creation stuff, right? I can focus on editing my videos that I want to do and doing that kind of stuff rather than, you know, all of a sudden I get up at 9:15 and then it's 5 o'clock. You know, like that's kind of how streaming's been. And this isn't the sole thing I want to get done. And frankly, the streaming is the worst part of like growth, if you will, of trying to reach other people and stuff like that, because there's no algorithm on Twitch to really push content. It's just you're streaming and that's it. You need to bring people in. So I do definitely need to focus, maybe somehow shift scheduling so I can focus on the other parts at maybe not a billion times more, but at least right now it's like almost non-existent. Okay, so here's Magneto. I can get rid of this color palette now. I still don't like this. I think this style is throwing me off. It's very messy. Obviously this isn't done. I'm not saying it's done, but whew, off the cuff, it's throwing me off. But I'm a commit. I've committed to this life. And I'm gonna keep committing to just being on one layer too, not even making a shadow layer. This is madness, I tell you, but you know, we're trying. I'm so messy. Who the heck? you've got to really commit to. If you're just doing a single layer, like I always would do like, oh, like I said, like a hue or saturation adjustment and stuff like that to make things read better. Like, oh, this doesn't actually read as well as I thought. Maybe it needs to be darker. Well, if I'm doing it with just a color on a layer, you better hope your butt that it works. Otherwise, you got to repaint that whole thing by hand. Which, again, kind of goes into the fact of like the repainting it does look kind of, that helps it look more organic for sure. But also, that's more work. As simple as that. It's just more time. Folds are another one I've talked about before where like you can get away with a lot with folds without being perfectly accurate, but also then they're super both unbelievably forgiving and unforgiving at the same time. Where so long as you know like 60% of to make it look good, it'll probably read just fine. But like if it's off, it really feels off then. Like, oh crap again. I mean, I have to remember I'm not allowed to use the eraser. Like I just don't even use it because there's nothing to erase at this point. But I am like hard coded in my brain to erase. The biggest thing with cloth was like what I just did there. Like this looked weird. It looks too uniform, right? Cloth has a bun, like it's moving. If it's a cape, right? That sucker's moving all over the place. So making sure you don't have like too big of shapes, but you break them up in an organic way that follows the movement of the cloth. Like we can see here, it's just following this, right? Everything is following this S curve. And it doesn't need to look like beyond perfect because your brain fills it in. It's a very organic shape that your brain usually just goes like, yep, that makes sense. I believe it. Which is kind of what happened there. I am curious. Maybe I'll play with since I am trying to blend things and be messy. Marvel Rivals does have a very strong, we can see on the screen on the top right there, like a massive, massive like whiteout, right? Like that is the biggest like rim light ever that they do. I'm sure there's a term for it actually where it's like super blown out. Um, but like in doing my roughness here, like where there's these white lines in it, I kind of like the way that looks. It's space I didn't paint is all it is, right? But maybe I do uh lean into that and kind of play with a negative light where the highlight then or rim light or whatever it is just the absence of the color rather than being, a lighter version of the color or whatever. And just since I'm being messy and cranking things to 11 anyway, it seems fitting to have such a like a simplified approach to highlighting. But that can be later. We'll see. But I guess I can just slap on. So like if I were to have like, can I do it even over? So if I were to do just a fill brush with white, let's say. And I just completely, the line art even, right? Just do it over the line art layer. And be really messy with it like that. Not the worst, right? I'm leaning into the messy nature of it where like the line art itself is getting removed. I don't know if there'd be one inside the cape actually, but yeah, maybe again, I'll reassess once I do the shadows and stuff like that, but honestly, if I'm going in, right, just go big or go home. So why not? I'm already home, right? Might as well go big. Because that gives it already a good amount of right, like that does look, it sells the shape a lot by just throwing in these really stark highlights. So if I'm working messy already and the shadows are super messy, then this rim highlights will just be, that's a little too much. Definitely a fine balance though, because it's so white that I feel like if I do too much, it'll become like overly distracting. Again, I'm not necessarily keeping this per se as it is drawn here. I'm doing this in just quick moments, but I mean, already just that little bit, it makes it pop a little, doesn't it? Again, once I add more, I never finish the line art and I need to add more. There's like no shadows painted, but I kind of like that. Again, messy, but it's very weird. Very weird. I know I've said that 1,000 times, but I can't stress enough how weird this is for me to do it this messy. But again, the whole point is I'm trying to be quick though, right? So if I'm doing stuff on stream especially, and the whole thing is I want to just make cool stuff. Like I don't want to focus on over rendering always. Like I can at some point, but that's not what I want to do right now. So if I can get the idea across more efficiently, and if that means I just be quicker and messier with it, that's cool. Because realistically, like when I draw, if you've seen the sketch layer on all of this, it's not like I'm clean when it comes to the sketch. It's just having the confidence to say, that's okay to keep it messy. Because in my brain, it says, no, you're sharing it with the world. It should be clean. It should be look professional, look done. But what the hell, who the hell says what professional is? You know, like it's art and it's my own drawings right now. So why do I have to care? Right? Like, yeah, if you're doing client work, you've got a style you need to stick to. Sure. That's not what I'm doing right now. I'm drawing for me to get better. So I know this is like a pinstripe. I'm well aware of how pinstripes work in dress clothes, right? I understand that it's not a physically like raised surface like I'm painting it to be, but it helps that look stand out a little bit. I feel like if I outline it a little more heavily. But yes, I understand that is not at all what it would look like. We've talked about before where it's not about making it exactly the way it needs to look. It's about making it the way it looks for the eye to enjoy it. And I think that definitely is an instance of that here. So I'm trying then, what I'm doing now is since I've got the shadows, I'm painting in shadows in the scratched up gross areas that I've made. So it's etchy, but then it's solidified by having actual dark colors in it on top of it. So I wonder if we just like, can I grab like other colors? Is this gonna look weird? I'm being messy, right? So who cares? I'm just putting in like other brush strokes. It doesn't need to be highlights necessarily, right? It's just, I take that back. That's ugly. That's too ugly for me right now. But I need to figure out, because I do like, if I'm going messy, I wonder if I make a fill brush. Ooh, what if we do that? Let's duplicate the fill brush. I hate that the duplicate goes above it. I want it to go below it. So let's take our fill brush, and there's a setting. What is it called? Is it color dynamics? So I think it's color dynamics. So like, let's say we've got a red, right? This is the preview. If we do like a hue, that looks crazy, right? That's a little too crazy. Oh, I forget you can't undo. But like if we do it like a slight hue variation, do you see how suddenly it looks like there's more going on? But I don't like the hue because it gets blurred. For stamp, can we make it where each stroke then? So each stroke is like a slight variation, a hue shift, just ever so slightly from the one before it. And then we can do the same thing with like a variation of lightness and saturation and a little bit of darkness, right? Nothing too crazy, but I'm curious what this will look like. Because if we do like, okay, we're coloring here, and then we switch to color here, and then we switch to color here, and we switch to color here, and we go here. I feel like that is adding, like I'm building messiness into the brush itself. So if you notice, these values are really small, right? 3%. Oh, you can change it by pressure? Oh, crap. Maybe that's what I do. Ooh, yeah. I don't know if I've ever messed with the pressure version of this. So let's still have each time I put the brush down, it'll make a different color, just slightly. But then I want this hue. Okay, what it's a saturation? Saturation's heavy. So basically what the brush is now, I'm telling it to do is basically every time I do a thing and apply a different amount of pressure, it changes the color. So if I'm trying to be messy, I wonder if, I might hate this. We'll see. We'll name this brush fill brush. This was a Martin Abel brush that I've like messed with like 18 different ways now. Fill brush dynamic, maybe we'll call it, right? Because it's got the weird color dynamics. So what does this look like if I do like, holy stromboli, that is weird. We tone down the brush stroke variation, like the difference in each time I touch the brush to the, make it 2. So it's like just very small variation right now instead. But then the pressure is what'll, man, that is such a different color it still hits with. That is wild. Yeah, there's like enough variation then when you zoom out that like it's not like crazy different, but it feels, maybe that'll be my new fill brush. So there's just like more variation in what I'm doing. It might look weird because I've already done certain areas, but it's messy, right? Who cares? We're leaning into the mess. That said, I probably should adjust the sketchy line work on some of these things and add some more like crosshatch, because like the forearm and stuff looks very weird, as does the metal, as does a couple other bits. So maybe we will, let me go back to the liner. It is now, what time is it? It is almost 1 o'clock. Gasp. 12:50. All right. Well, like I said, we probably need to adjust the overall actual schedule for this because if I wanted to stream games later, I don't want to sit here and not be able to get moving until like 2 o'clock. So let's just give like, what do we say? It is 12:50. Let's do 1:05. Let's do like 15 minutes. What do we got? Some been seen. How many grams of protein in my dog food lunch? A good amount. So I do 1 scoop. So if it's 1 scoop of the whey protein, I want to say that's about, is that 25 grams in that? And then the PB2 has like 8 or 9. And then the almond milk has like 6, I think. I'd actually be curious. I don't remember off the top of my head. Gold standard. Per scoop. I'm blanking actually how much is in each scoop. Yeah, 24 grams. I was actually really close. So I would wager as a whole that meal is probably like 45-ish grams of protein. For just the one meal. I try and have at least like 20 grams in anything I eat at the minimum. So if I'm doing like even like my protein bars for breakfast because I'm lazy and just have that, those usually have at least 20 grams, right? I don't mess with protein bars that don't have anything below that minimum threshold. And then for like when I said I'll cook like my chicken and rice, that is usually just very heavy amount of chicken, rice, and broccoli. And then with dinner, it's a giant salad with some cheeses, which add like a negligible amount of protein, but there's at least a little in them. And then a good amount of like almost probably like at least half a full chicken breast is usually what we put in each salad for the actual like protein. So, the general rule of thumb is you're getting in realistically around your body weight of protein. So if I weigh 165 pounds, I try and get realistically a little over that in of protein a day. Much harder to do on days that like you don't have access to direct protein sources, right? So like on weekends, if we go to family and do stuff with them, like how often it's not as easy to pull in a bunch of protein in each bite in each meal. So that's why it's important that I do really like at least having the protein powder, because then I can always balance with a little more. If I get home late, I can always be like, okay, well, we've got the chicken prepped. I can have the chicken for some extra protein when we get home, or, stuff like that. I'm notorious for bringing protein bars with wherever I go. My girlfriend's the sweetest, and she gets to the point now where she's like, I packed a protein bar for you. Like, it's always ready. Like, whenever we go anywhere, it's like, I've got one just in case. Like, because I'm weird and I always want it. But it's a thing where once you get used to it, like, your body needs protein, right? Like, hunter-gatherer vibes, like, we as human beings eat protein. Like, I understand religious, whatever you want to, I'm not saying anything against that. Y'all do what you want to do. But like physiologically, our bodies consume protein. And when you don't have it, your body notices, but then you get used to it. Like, people don't realize the extent or impact. So like I've been harkening the Harkonnens from Dune. I've been harping. I don't know. I've been saying things to my mother for like the past like 15 years that like she's like, "Well, I eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich." And I'm like, "That's not protein, Mom." Like, that's not like, and she is good about like, usually she always was good when we were younger and still having like clean meats and different things. But like I stressed her, I'm like, I don't think you understand the amount of energy you get from being filled enough with protein until you actually have it, because your body gets used to it. So like, I don't drink pop. I just don't. Haven't really had any sort of, or soda, whatever dialect you refer to I don't drink pop. when I drank pop, my body didn't say I shouldn't drink pop, right? But I've not had it now in 15 plus years. And I remember in college, I had it once. I was at a girlfriend's aunt's house, and we were going to like a baseball game in the city. And she was like this little old great aunt. And she like, and I was like, oh no, I don't want any. I'm good. Thank you. I don't need anything. I've got my water. And she's like, no, 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 no. Plop. And she dropped like a Sprite. And she opened it in front of me. She took the can, cracked it, and set it in front of me to drink. And I was like, oh. And I didn't drink all of it, but I definitely had like a little. And I felt like I was going to puke the rest of the day, like at least for the next like 4 hours. My body realized that it's not something you should have in it, right? And so my body now rejected it. It wasn't a fan. And again, I'm not preaching not to drink pop and do that. You do whatever the hell you want. But for me, for my money, that's what happened, right? And it's kind of the opposite, but the same then when it comes to protein intake, that so many people don't have enough protein that they don't realize that that's a big difference. So then my mom now, after 15, 20 years of me Valia hearkening on her to do that, she's expressed to me like, holy crap, I feel such a difference now. Like after doing it for a few weeks, like she's noticed a difference in her energy levels overall, having more protein in her diet. And my girlfriend never really, she had enough, again, wasn't like an unhealthy person, but like didn't truly grasp the extent of it either. And now she's the same way as me almost, where it's like, oh no, I feel it. Like if I didn't get enough if she doesn't get enough protein and she feels it, because your body then adjusts to knowing that, hey, this is like a thing we do need, and we thrive with it. Just like the opposite of like the things you shouldn't have, like the pop, when you remove it from your diet, your body gets better, and then put it back, it feels gross. Whereas proteins, the thing where when you add it, your body feels better, and if you take it away, your body will tell you that, hey man, give me that good back. So really long answer, about 45 grams of protein in my lunch, give or take. Okay, I set a time and then I got, okay, I said 105, right? Okay, you got me talking about protein. Give me fitness talk and diet talk. I talk, I'll talk more than if you told me to talk about art or games. Nah, I just talk about a lot. Art, games, toys, comic books, fitness, diet. I'll talk your ear off. Disney, you know, all the good stuff, all the good stuff. So I originally was playing with the idea of because he does do, especially in Rivals here, he's like playing with his magnetic energy in his hand. I was playing with the idea of like maybe giving, like, if I do that white, maybe I do like a soft purple or something to signify his glow of energy coming from his hand. But then also that's a whole other thing. Like, so we'll see. That's a very different, no pun intended, a different energy to it. You know what I mean? Is he just being pompous and raising his arm and like approaching? Or is he like in fight mode and actually like showing off power? You know, those are very different things for a character to be doing. I'm trying to be quiet so I can just get as much done as I can in these couple minutes. So I'm just adding like, I know in his cape it's like flat, but again, trying to break the gold to the red in a cape. Like I always like to kind of, as I did with the other stuff, allude to a little bit more of a physical break, just like in the pant, right? So like right here, would there be a cast shadow? Absolutely not. Right here, is this a flat surface that kind of doesn't do a thing that will provide a strong shadow like this? Yeah, especially his cape. Like there's really not, it's not like two giant separate, it's not like a cape where it's like a giant frill or something like that. However, it does help break up the shape still and allude to the shadows and the way the light's coming in. So I do still want to give it a little bit of oomph in terms of this black here. And then just being sketchy. Like I said, I'm being loose, man. Nobody can tell me I'm not. I'm really doing it today. I'm making it super, super duper sketchy. And like, here's a prime example. Like this leg will be receiving a highlight probably, right? I'll give it that white. I think I already probably did here, right? I'll give it that white, but it is like whenever you have a big space between something like this, I feel like having a nice shadow to break it up. Especially in this like very etchy, loose way of doing it helps, right? Like we've talked about Magnola, right? A lot of his stuff, he breaks up shapes by having that thick, dark black separation between the things. So trying to emulate that to an extent to make sure this leg feels like it's coming, like it is definitely ahead of this cape, and there's a big amount of distinction between it. And again, that white line, right now it looks like kind of, well, the whole thing's messy. But the white line that I plan on introducing later should help the thing pop. And then there's like a little scrape of the black still that we can see, right? So it'll feel better. Again, this white is the first pass, just an idea. So that's probably not what it's going to look like. But it's at least an idea of where we're going with it. Okay, we hit our time. It's 1:04, so I think that means we should probably stop. I can eat, get my walk in, clean up the kitchen a little bit, and then get on to actually play Rivals at 3. So to keep my schedule and to keep my sanity, I think we'll call it there. I've been really practicing, right? You know, I've been doing my thing where I need to make sure there's thumbnails, which is a whole beast with content creation and stuff like that now. So, hey, look. I point the wrong way because I don't remember that the camera is flipped. Hey, look. It's Magneto. So I think today's exercise of really trying to be loose and scratchy and not care, right? It was difficult, and I'm sure you guys heard me say that 1,000 times. But as I've said, it's worth breaking out of your comfort zone and seeing what works and what doesn't, and being okay with it. So I think I would call it a success. If you don't call it a success, I don't care. It's about me. It's called BrittonDraws, all right? Jeez, I'm Britton and I'm drawing. But yeah, so I think we'll call it here. I will probably mess with this more on my free time later today because, like I said, I'm not compartmentalizing my time well enough, and I want to get better at that, but I'm probably still not going to. That said, I'm definitely going to try and be on later to get at least the gaming stream in just for an hour or two, just because it's part of the schedule. I want to keep up with the consistency of that. And especially because next week I'm gonna 100% be doing Orcs Must Die, because that game, I actually don't know if it's going to be good, but I like the game before, so fingers crossed. But anyway, I'm off to eat some lunch and get moving on a few other things. If you guys do peep on back to watch me lose at Marvel Rivals and drop my rank down to bronze or whatever it might be, cool beans. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the morning with some more sketchy, etchy, loose Magneto. So until then, be kind and kick butt.